Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. I'm a Forbes contributor covering social entrepreneurship and impact investing. And our guest today is none other than the John Lee Dumas. John, welcome to the show.
Devin, I'm glad to be here, my friend. You're not only a classy guy, but you're a classy dresser. I'm feeling a little underdressed, but I'm trying to support my brand right here, but you're looking good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're thrilled to have you on the show. My gosh, the world awaits every word that you're going to say, and so we're eager to have you download a little wisdom to us this morning. So, John, you are right in the midst of a crowdfunding campaign for your new Mastery Journal. Tell us what the Mastery Journal is.
So the Mastery Journal, in a nutshell, is a guide to master productivity, discipline, and focus in 100 days. The Mastery Journal idea came from my audience, Devin, continuously asking me, John, like, what would you say your greatest strengths are? And I was glad they asked that question, because if they asked me what my greatest weaknesses were, it would have taken like hours to talk about, because I have a ton of those. But my strengths are few but mighty. But those few strengths are productivity, our discipline, our focus. I really have mastered those three skills. So I wanted to create a tool, a guide, a resource that would allow people to master those three skills, as I've been able to do over the past 4.5 years of building EO Fire into a multi-million-dollar a year business. So that was the essence behind the Mastery Journal, and that's what it is.
Let's talk for a minute about the Entrepreneur on Fire. This podcast you've created is a true phenomenon. Tell us a little bit about how you've done that. And I want you to talk specifically, as you tell us that story, about your transparency on the business side and the revenue.
So back in 2012, I was kind of at a crossroads in life. I'd spent 8 years in the Army. I tried law school, tried corporate finance, tried real estate. Nothing was just working. I was 32 years old, hadn't found my thing yet. And I started just listening to podcasts. I started consuming podcasts, and I just loved that free medium of audio that was coming through, targeted, on-demand, focused content. And so I just listened to as many podcasts as I could, but I soon found, Devin, that, I'm driving to work 5 days a week. I'm hitting the gym. On the weekends, I'm going for long runs. I'm going through entire podcast seasons in just like a couple of weeks. So somebody that launched a podcast 3 years ago, doing a weekly show, I'm going through all their back episodes, in the course of a couple of months. And I'm like, when's the next episode coming out? And it wasn't coming out for another week or 2 weeks. And I said, I need to find that daily show that's producing this great content. Didn't exist. I decided, hey, why not try to be the change you want to see in the world, to quote Gandhi. And I stepped into that void that I saw in the podcasting space. And I started back in September of 2012, interviewing the world's most successful, inspiring entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Here we are talking now at almost episode 1600, over 43 million listens to date. And this has turned into a 7-figure a year business. So a lot of great things have happened. But to answer your question about the revenue side and why we post that on our site, when I was trying to figure out, could I turn a podcast into a business that actually generated money, because I didn't see any other people that were doing it at that time, just focused on the podcast, I found people like Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income, who since 2010 has been publishing monthly income reports. And I'm like, here's a guy that has a podcast, but also has a blog and a website and kind of does his own thing with whatever he's doing with niche websites. He has a family. He's just a nice guy. And he's publishing income reports every single month, showing people how he's making money. So I said to myself, hey, if I ever figure out how to turn EO Fire into a revenue generating machine, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to bring 100% transparency, and I'm just going to let people see the insides of my business. What's working so they can emulate those successes, what's not working so they can avoid those failures. That turned into our monthly income reports. We actually just published, Devin, our 40th monthly income report, where again, we don't just show the wins and the money coming in the doors. We show those, but we also show the failures and mistakes, where we lose money, and all the different things that we do, because we want it to be an overall educational experience for entrepreneurs, whether you be a podcaster, a blogger, whatever it might be, products, you name it, to show what's working for us, what's not, and hopefully be transparent and inspire others.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Well, it really is an interesting thing to look at those charts. I've been through them, and it's interesting to see the incredible progress, the success you're having, and clearly the authority that gives you as well as an expert, and that makes the Mastery Journal all the more important and interesting because of the authority you created for yourself. Before we go back to the Mastery Journal, and I do want to go back to that, I want to talk to you about your decision to partner with Pencils of Promise for your crowdfunding campaign. You did that both for your crowdfunding campaign almost exactly a year ago with the Freedom Journal, and raised $75,000 for new schools in Guatemala, Ghana, and Laos. Tell us about your decision.
So for me, I had a guest on my show long time ago, Aaron Walker, and he said a phrase that just stuck with me, and that was, go from being successful to significant. And that phrase really stuck me hard, because at the time, all I was doing was really trying to focus on success and bring EO Fire into the world of being a success. And I hadn't even thought about what it meant to be significant at that point. I'm just trying to figure things out and make my business happen and work. But that phrase stuck with me. And so that, where a couple hundred episodes later, I had Adam Braun on my show, who's the founder of Pencils of Promise. And he's just this young, sharp guy that said, you know what? Right now, I believe in this world, what a lot of people are missing, especially in developing third world countries, is just education. I mean, if they can just have access to teachers, to the internet, to this wide world of information, that the sky can be the limits. Like that to me just resonated, because I saw how much value for me education was in my life. And I'm not just talking about traditional, like when I went to college in Providence, Rhode Island, like when I went to graduate school, law school, like that was all great, well and good, but just the education of being able to log online, go to Google and learn and research something like how to edit a podcast that was taking my business to a 7-figure level. I mean, it was a game changer. And I just wanted to bring that same opportunity to other people that might not have that before, just because of lack of resources. So Adam just figured it out, and he created Pencils of Promise. And for $25,000, they figured out how to create a school from nothing to completion. We're talking fully furnished, completed, teachers, books, everything that they need, from nothing to that. And so it just really resonated with me. And they were doing it in places like Ghana and Guatemala. And I had lived for Guatemala for 4 months back in 2007. And so I knew the country well. I knew the location that they were building schools in that just needed it so badly. And I just wanted to be a part of that. So when I made that a part of what Kickstarter was going to be for the Freedom Journal, not just a successful campaign, but how can we make it significant as well? That's when we partnered with Pencils of Promise, and it was a great decision. Every time we hit a funding level, I wrote a check for $25,000 on behalf of the backers to Pencils of Promise to build a school in a developing country. And we were able to build 3 over the course of that campaign, which was amazing. So I'm doing the exact same thing this year with the Mastery Journal. We partnered with Pencils of Promise again. And every time we hit funding goals, I'm writing checks to Pencils of Promise so we can continue giving back to education, to this world, and to know, and for people to know that when they're backing the Mastery Journal, they're not only giving themselves the gift, Devin, of mastering those 3 skills: productivity, discipline, and focus, but they're also giving the gift of education to those less fortunate. They're not only helping turn this campaign into a success, but they're helping turn this campaign into one of significance. And that's what I wanted to bring to this world.
Well, it is a wonderful idea. I've got to think, you help me answer this question, though. I've got to think that this helps your campaign to be more successful, not just more significant.
Absolutely. It pretty much is like a double-headed monster that feeds itself, because when people see what I'm doing and they believe in that, and they just say, you know what, I feel good about education. I feel good about supporting the Mastery Journal, knowing that I'm going to be contributing to this great cause as well. Sometimes it can just kind of push people over that buyer's edge right there, which, is great. And that's why Tom's Shoes has had success. You go and you say, hey, this pair of shoes is $10 more expensive than maybe another one that's pretty similar, but I'm going to be buying this and there's going to be a pair of shoes that's going to be given to somebody in a developing country. Like, that's a great feeling. And so when you can kind of combine these two things, everybody wins. Pencils of Promise wins because they're getting a lot of money from us. I win because I'm getting more sales for the Mastery Journal, and the Mastery Journal contributors are winning because they're giving themselves a gift, a very valuable one, but they're also giving a gift to the world, and that's education to those less fortunate.
That's fantastic. I want to circle back now to the Mastery Journal, and we just have a few minutes, but quickly, I want you to take us through the key. Why are these three principles of discipline, productivity, and focus, each one, why are they so important?
So when I look back over the last 4.5 years and how I turned EO Fire into a successful 7-figure-a-year business, it's because I focused on these three skills, my three strengths that I've now mastered: productivity, discipline, and focus. So let's talk about productivity first. For me, productivity means you are producing the right content to move your business and life forward. Because Devin, a lot of people are productive, they're efficient, they're effective over the course of the day, but they look back and they're like, well, why didn't I move the ball forward? Because maybe you're being productive and efficient in the wrong things. Like, you can be really productive answering emails all day long, but just doing that alone is not going to be what takes your business to the next level. You need to compartmentalize these things, have this time broken out where you're not OPA on other people's agenda, but you're focused on producing the right content for your business. Like, answering emails all day long doesn't get this Mastery Journal printed and created in a year. Like, it just doesn't happen. I had to carve out time to be productive in this area, producing that content. Disciplined, the word disciple is very important to me. Like, I got this from the military. You need to be disciplined enough. You need to be a disciple of that plan of action that you're creating every single day. Craft that plan and then be disciplined to follow that plan through execution. So many people plan to fail to plan, Devin, and therefore they are planning to fail. That's a quote. It's out there and it's true. And we just float along. We don't have this plan. And to finish off with focus, follow one course until success. Devin, there are weapons of mass distraction everywhere. Cell phones beeping, browsers flashing, you name it, it's happening. You have to learn how to laser focus, how to cut out those bright, shiny object syndromes that are trying to distract you every single day, and just have that laser focus for a certain amount of time on that specific task. I'm not saying all day block everything out. I'm saying you need to craft time for yourself to just focus. The Mastery Journal guides you in that, and that's where those three skills come in.
42 focused minutes every day over any span of time, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, creates a lot of productive time, doesn't it?
A lot. And it's really cool that you brought up the 42 minutes, because that's what the Mastery Journal is all about. We actually have 4 sessions every single day, what I call focus sessions. Now, you have within each one of those 4 sessions, you have a focus time and a refresh time. For me, I've figured out, for what works best in my world, 42 minutes of focus followed by 18 minutes of refresh. That's one session. And I do 4 of those intraday. And during those 4 sessions, Devin, I get more quality, productive work done than I used to get done all week long. Now, for somebody that's starting, maybe you want to try 25 minutes of a focus session with 10 minutes of a break. And that's why those sections are actually blank for you in the Mastery Journal. But you figure out your sweet spot, and then you drive forward with that, with these 4 focus sessions every single day. You're going to get more done that day than you used to get done all week.
Yeah, it's really, I think, a powerful, powerful concept. Well, John, you are a rock star. You have a fan base that is incredible. People worship you. But who do you look up to as a role model?
Well, there's one person that I look up to because I feel like this person, and specifically his words, really shifted my life. And I was at this fork in the road, and I could have gone this way, but because of these words and this quote and this person, I went that way, and that's made all the difference for me. And it's an Albert Einstein quote, which is, "Try not to become a person of success, but rather a person of value." And Devin, at 32 years old, when I heard that quote, I said, wow, I've been doing it wrong for 32 years. Like, I've been trying to become a person of success, and I've been chasing the wrong things. And of course, success hasn't found me. It's been elusive. So I shifted everything, my mindset. And that's when I launched EO Fire, a free, valuable, and consistent podcast every single day. I just became a person of value, nothing more, nothing less. I gave it all away. And guess what? Success found me. So that mindset shift was everything. I've always put value first from that day forward. Albert Einstein's really been a big person in my life. I've read his autobiography. I study him. I just think the man is brilliant.
Well, that answer hints at the answer to the question I want to ask next, which is, why do you do this? What motivates you to do the podcast? Why do you care about helping entrepreneurs be more successful?
It's really the ripple effect for me, because I look at the first 32 years of my life, and the first 26 years were pretty happy, Devin. You know, I did my whole growing up thing. College was great. The Army was a good section. I was 4 years active duty. But then from 26 to 32, I was floating and I was failing and I was dropping out of law school and quitting jobs in corporate finance. I just couldn't find my thing. And it was a sad, unhappy, depressed time. And that's just not me. But I mean, I'm a naturally happy person. Believe me, like the first 26 years of my life, like, you couldn't get me down, but those 6 years got me down. And I just said, man, now that I finally found success through, by the way, providing value first, I just want to share this gift with others, because I just don't want people that don't have to go through the same 6 years of struggle and you know, depression and just unsuccess that I was going through and that I went through during those 6 years. So I just loved bringing these conversations with successful entrepreneurs to people that talking about their worst moments, their aha moments, and how they turn those ideas into success. And if I could just help people out, then again, that goes back to what I first said, the ripple effect. A person that I might impact, Devin, might that now go off and start their thing because now they're inspired to do that. And they're going to impact people that I never would have touched. Like that third, fourth, fifth degree of separation, that ripple effect to me is everything. And so like I look at the 3 million listens that my show's had. I think that's astounding, but the number is even so much bigger than that, because some of those 43 million people who've listened to my podcast have done things that have impacted 5, 10, 15 people and that will never listen to my podcast and will never have heard of my name. And all of that's fine, because their life will be improved by that action that I took of launching EO Fire.
No, that's terrific. I love it. I love it. Now, one last question for you, John. What's your superpower?
So my superpower is, and this just wraps it totally up at the beginning, it's productivity, it's discipline, it's focus. I have very few strengths, Devin, but my few strengths are mighty. And I just double down on these. I amplify them. I'm really bad at attention to detail, things like that. I make typos, I do this, I do things like that all the time. So guess what? I don't try to become okay at those things. I hire people to do those things now. I focus on the 3 things that I am great at: productivity, discipline, and focus. And that allows me to grow EO Fire, you know, from where it is now a 7-figure business into potentially an 8-figure and beyond business as the years go on. So those are my superpowers. There are 3. I focus on them. You know, I've turned the Mastery Journal into a tool where others can learn to master the same way that I do. You know, you talked about the technique, Devin, with that focus session. Like, I didn't make that up. I learned it by doing the research, by putting in the work. It's the Pomodoro technique. It's been out there forever, but nobody does it because people just don't know about it. They don't trust in it, but it works. I show you how to implement it, and then these can become your superpowers too.
Fantastic. Now, John, before you go, tell us how people can find your Kickstarter campaign, how they can find your podcast, how they can connect with you personally.
So Devin, all the magic happens with the Mastery Journal at themasteryjournal.com. From now until February 24th of 2017, that'll take you right to the Kickstarter campaign. If you're watching this after February 24th, no big deal. The same URL will take you to the Mastery Journal page where you can learn more about it and invest in a copy there as well, themasteryjournal.com.
Fantastic. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you every success with your crowdfunding campaign, your support for Pencils of Promise, and changing the world.
Thanks, Devin.
All right, let's do some good.